Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Thursday edition of Talkback. It's brought to you by, Office Solutions and Services. Here, John, read this, would you? Sure. Thank you. Go ahead.
Brought to us by Office Solutions and Services, locally owned with solutions for every office. The Mustard Seed Restaurant, automated cutting edge, where Joe Featherly and the mechanics specialize in all makes and models for vehicle repair and maintenance. 1510 Bulwer Street, call 542-2218. And Transport Equipment, your headquarters for RV service.
All right, thank you. I've got the cookie out of my throat, so sorry about that. Also brought to you by Rogers & Company Fine Jewelry, offering unique fine jewelry at competitive prices across from Super Walmart. Deep Roots Medicinals, offering alternative and natural medicine to treat a wide variety of conditions. Call Brian, he's the physiologist at Deep Roots, 531-7461. And by MC Design Studio. They specialize in high-end residential architecture and commercial development. Online at ncdesignstudio.com. And we're going to talk wild animals, lions and tigers and bears. And elephants. All together now. Oh my. Yeah, there you go. Come on, John. Where's your
I just watched The Wizard of Oz.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So we have one of our good friends of the program, Teresa Manzella. Good to see you again.
Thank you for having me.
Better if your microphone is in the on position. Always works better that way.
Thank you, Peter.
So, Teresa, you are House Representative 85.
Yes.
District 85.
Yes.
And we're here to talk about animals.
Animals. Yes, we are indeed. The City Council has proposed,
In its wisdom.
all its wisdom, I guess we're going to debate that today, has proposed an exotic animal ban for the Shriner Circus. And we're here to discuss that today. The Shriner Circus has 65 years of history bringing the circus to town, put forth a tremendous amount of effort in holding this function that has an unblemished safety record. And so we need to discuss, what's a circus without animals, Peter? I mean,
ladies and gentlemen, okay, I shall now put on my ringmaster voice. I see. John knows I've always wanted to be a ringmaster, but nobody's ever asked me. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages.
Very good.
In the center ring, there's dirt.
Just dirt.
Look at that dirt. It's amazing. Okay, so wait, there's a small insect crawling across the center ring. Yay! Okay.
Insect abuse.
So I realize that may be making light of what many people consider to be a very serious subject, but I don't understand this whole idea of animal abuse, and I think a lot of that comes from people who don't understand how circus animals are. They're mostly bred in captivity. They're taken care of. They're babied. They are yes, they're trained. They have to be trained, just like you train a dog.
Tremendous amounts of training.
Yeah, you have to train a dog. When you train your dog, okay, are you being cruel to him or her because you want him to behave properly? And sometimes you have to do a little discipline to make sure. I mean, is it the same way with your kids? I mean, you're training them too.
That's exactly right, Peter. And think about it. Think about the difference between training your domestic dog and the hours and time invested into that.
And some people who don't.
And some people who don't. Right, exactly.
Right, yeah.
And versus compared to the training that goes into training an 8 to 10,000 pound elephant, or 6 of them, or a 500-pound tiger, or 10 of them, and having them all perform safely under the pressure, in the spotlight, for the crowd, noises, children, popcorn, different smells, different environments. Think about everything that goes into that. And I mean, these circus people are actually amazing in their abilities to train these animals.
We do have on the phone with us Mindy Patterson, who's with the Cavalry Group. Good morning, Mindy. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You bet. We appreciate you being with us on the show today. You're going to slap on those headphones. There you go, so you can hear what's going on. All right. So tell us a little bit about the Cavalry Group. What's that all about?
The Cavalry Group is a member-based company. We have members in all 50 states. We provide immediate access to legal defense to defend the constitutional rights of animal owners and animal enterprise nationwide.
So break that out for us. What in the Constitution defends the public display of an elephant show, for example?
Ownership of private property.
Now, a lot of people in Missoula are going to have a bit of a problem with that. Apparently, one of the arguments is that we should treat animals not as property but as equals in many ways. What is your take on this line of argumentation, this deep ecology argument, if you will?
Let me finish my hamburger first, and then we'll talk about that.
Pass that around, would you please?
I'm equalizing with this hamburger as we speak.
Go ahead.
Well, we have dominion over animals, and in the Constitution, under the basic principle, our founding principle of private property. I mean, actually, the Achilles heel of the animal rights movement is the historic principle that animals are property. But they must remain such in order for us to protect them under our stewardship. And what is happening today across the country is through legislation reform and illegal search and illegal seizure of people's animals under the false premise of animal abuse, oftentimes the false premise. Much of the industries that are under fire, if you will, are industries that are very highly regulated. And the circus is one of the most highly regulated animal industries out there. I mean, they are under such scrutiny from USDA and local authorities, under constant authority and scrutiny. So, they're not going to show up to abuse their animals that they love. I mean, that's the false premise that the owner of these animals are abusing their animals.
Let me give you something that I heard in the city council hearings here in Missoula not too long ago. I think it was Mr. Van Lossberg, but I might be wrong on the particular council person. But they said something like this, like, hey, I have animals, I have pets, but they're not treating these animals like pets. They're putting them on trains where they're very confined. They're shipping them across the country. These are conditions that we wouldn't wish upon any animal, basically. And I guess the point is that just the nature of the day-to-day circus and traveling around the country and the confined spaces are more akin to animal abuse than other types of animal shows, or, for example, owning a pet. And it's the animal abuse feature in the conversation that seems to pop up a lot when I hear people talk about this issue. So how do you get around that? Because we have all kinds of laws in the United States prohibiting animal abuse or torture, and I think for many good reasons.
Well, again, it's what's your definition of abuse? If they believe that these animals who are, I should say, doing a job that they love and performing in a circus or, horses on a trail ride or performing in a rodeo or, whatever the animal, whatever the performing task, who are we to say that they're unhappy?
I think now here's an interesting distinction, Mindy. In one of the things that the city council specifically is excluding from this deal is rodeo stock. Is that right, Teresa?
Yes, that is correct. And at this point, they have specifically indicated that they are excluding rodeo. But let's look at the situation. Really, what is the difference between putting my horse in my horse trailer and traveling thousands of miles and taking him to a horse show, to new environments, to compete? What's really the difference between that and the circus?
I think the big difference, and this is one that the city council is failing to realize, is that it's harder to relate to owning an elephant than it is to owning a horse, than it is to owning a dog. And that distance of understanding, I think, is the big gap here.
Well, and I agree with you, but elephants have been domesticated and used in other countries, not necessarily the United States, because they're not indigenous. But yes, for thousands of years, elephants have been domesticated and used for work purposes. And people have amazing relationships with these highly intelligent animals. And they spend thousands of hours, they invest thousands of hours into their training, into their communication with them, and to condition them and prepare them for an act.
We're up against a break, and I want to get this conversation going. I know that there are folks listening in our audience right now who are just kind of if you seriously, if you disagree with what we're talking about today, we'd love to hear from you. We have 2 lines open. State your opinion. Put your case out there. 721-1290. That's what this show is all about, hearing both sides of an issue. So maybe you're a member of the city council and you'd like to call and say, the reason we did that is because of such and such and so, and maybe we can get this all worked out. So 721-1290 is our number. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Talkback. 721-1290 is our number. Teresa Manzello. We also have Dean Gilmore. We haven't heard from yet. Good morning, Dean. How are you?
Morning, Peter.
Oh, there you go. He's got the microphone now. And also on the phone is Mindy Patterson, who's with the Cavalry Group. And I want to get Stephen on the line. He just called a second ago. So, Stephen, good morning. You're on Talkback. Hi.
Good morning. How are we doing this fine morning?
Excellent. What's on your mind, sir?
Well, I just wanted to throw the quote out there that John has said, that the councilman has said, these guys, the elephants being inside of the, shipping crates or containers, get shipped across the country or whatnot. But I'm sure that the gentleman's dog was crate trained. Or, they spend the whole night in the crate when they're puppies and so on. Like, I'm sure that their dog and whatnot are not just free range to go around the house, even when they're pups. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know what we do? We have, and this is a big word, we have a tendency to anthropomorphize animals.
Do. Mm-hmm.
You know what that means, Stephen?
I do indeed.
Yeah, well, it means to endue them with human characteristics and feelings and that sort of thing, which they may or may not have. And so I think one of the, if you will, it's kind of a well-intentioned mistake, is to say, oh, that poor animal has to be shipped in a crate, when the elephant's thinking, okay, when do I eat next? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Right.
And they actually appreciate their crates. Dogs and animals, horses, they actually appreciate their stalls. It's their safe zone. It's their environment. They come to like it. Oftentimes, you'll see a dog that's been crate trained. If he's given the opportunity and the door is left open, he'll just go and kennel up.
Go right in the crate. Yep.
All right. Thanks for the call, Stephen. Appreciate it. Thanks for the call. All right. We have 2 lines open still, 721-1290. So, Mindy, what do you think of that group, thought of the anthropomorphization? I could say it once.
Anthropomorphization.
That too. Making them act, treating them like human beings. What do you think about that?
Oh, there's way too much of that going on, and I'm glad he brought up the crate training, by the way, because specifically what's happening here with whether it be training tools of the animals and specifically time-tested agriculture practices to ensure the health and safety of both people and animals are being redefined as inhumane treatment of animal livestock and even pets. By those who have an emotional-based agenda. I mean, this is all emotional-based. It's not science-based. It's not fact-based. And the fact that you have brought up the anthropomorphization, sorry, I haven't had enough coffee this morning.
I have to have a sip of coffee every time someone messes that one up.
Yeah, go ahead.
We are deflecting our human emotion on these animals.
That's exactly right.
And again, it's emotion. It's not fact-based or science-based. And the origin of this shift can be traced directly to what's known as the animal rights movement. And I hope that your listeners are familiar with the difference between animal rights and animal welfare.
Right.
But it is a line of thinking that has gradually gained a foothold in universities and government through the last 40 or 50 years. And what once was a radical ragtag group of extremists is now a multi-million-dollar coalition of organizations who raise money under the guise of animal welfare and pet shelters and caring for animals, when ultimately they spend that money on the promotion of increased regulation and destroying animal ownership and animal businesses. And that's what we're dealing with here with this situation with the banning of the circus.
Okay, hang on. Go ahead, Teresa.
Well, I just wanted to help Mindy drive that point home. We talked about the animal rights movement gaining a foothold. Well, at this point in our history, it's a lot more than just a foothold. This movement is at the top of our food chain in our government industry, and I'm probably many of your listeners are familiar with the name of Cass Sunstein, who was President Obama's former regulation czar. He's now gone back to melding minds at Harvard University, I understand. But he is an animal rightsist. And one of my favorite quotes to help drive this point home is from him. And it goes like this: everything depends on whether the animal in question can feel pain and suffer. If a rat can feel pain and suffer, then his interests become relevant to if he can be expelled from homes. So think about that for a minute. Think about that for a minute, and you might say, "Oh, Teresa, he's a college professor. He was just saying something totally radical and off the wall to elicit provocative thought from his students." Until you realize that in 2010, Washington, D.C. passed the Wildlife Protection Act, whereby pest controllers have to catch and release pests. And I am totally serious.
All right, go ahead.
I do have real quick question. I understand that this is not an issue that's just popping up in Missoula, and it sounds to me like the cavalry group deals with this issue in other states as well. Have you been successful? Have you lost cases? My understanding is that there's a number of cities that have exotic animal bans already.
Yes, we had a recent success in Austin, Texas, however. Austin defeated an elephant guide ban, and the elephant guide is what the instrument or tool that is used to train elephants and communicate between the trainer and the elephant. And that's the trick that a lot of these animal rights groups are trying to pass legislatively at the local level, although they're trying to pass the elephant guide ban at the state level in California to ban circuses. And so we were successful in defeating the elephant guide ban in Austin, Texas about 3 weeks ago. And it was just purely education. You know, a lot of the committee members in the city of Austin just really didn't realize that the elephant guide is not just to train the elephant and communicate, but it keeps the trainer safe. It keeps the elephant safe.
Right.
And it allows veterinary care to take place of the elephant. I mean, the list is long.
All right.
But again, it's being vilified under false information.
Hey, Mindy, we need to take another break, and I want to get Candy and Mike on. They've been waiting. I want to give them plenty of time to make their point, but we have to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more of Talkback. All of our lines are full, but you can certainly make your comment on our Facebook page. We'll be right back. Hey, we're back on Talkback 721-1290. We're running short of time, so I want to get a couple of callers on real quick. Let's go to Candy first. Candy, you're on Talkback with our guests. Go ahead.
Yes, I want to agree with the intelligence level of elephants, and there is an emotional level, too. They're very emotional animals. They have, families. They protect their family and everything like that. And my concern is we don't have elephant rescue missions in America that can deal with this if they keep the elephants out. And then what are they going to do? Send them back to Africa or wherever where they've never lived before, and they're going to be shot for their tusks. We just heard about the dentist that shot that lion, and there's no guarantee they're not going to be used for that.
Okay.
And when you have dogs react to people, and they feel safe around their owners and protected. And what are you going to do? Send them back?
Gotcha. Hey, Candy, I'm so sorry. I got to get one more call in before we wrap up this hour. So, Mike, you're on. Go ahead. We have 2 minutes.
Yeah, I was just wondering, who does our city council think they are? They have become something that runs rampant, doing whatever they want, whenever they want, no matter what the people of the city of Missoula want.
I'm sure that whoever proposed this was someone who was acting on a request from a constituent, probably.
Well, of course, you've got one person that squawks or cries about something, and then it's the whole city council just meets together and goes, "Okay, we're going to vote on it." Done.
I've
We're
complained
finished.
about stuff no one met for my complaint.
Yeah, really. Okay, so I'm going to see if we can get that answered for you, Mike. So either you want to address that. Go ahead.
Well,
Dean, go ahead.
We really feel that we were sort of bushwhacked through Public Health and Safety Commission. The Brian von Lossberg, I believe, was the one that brought the ordinance or the ordinance proposal forward, and for some reason, which I don't understand.
Now, has this been voted on yet?
No, there's been two committee meetings. The first committee meeting, we didn't hear about it until one day before the committee meeting actually was.
Wow.
Never got a call. And then the second time he gave us a call, we don't feel we've never had a complaint in 65 years. We've never been charged. We're our circus contracts are in full compliance with federal, state, and local law, and there's absolutely no reason for an additional ordinance. And I agree with the caller.
So there's an out for rodeos and educational displays. Have you considered trying to rope the elephants? Or have a chart of the elements maybe on the side of the elephant,
or perhaps put them in a chute and do the bucking elephant thing.
Bucking elephant.
Yeah,
There you go. Or maybe we should try to elephant tie.
work within
Goat
the
tie.
system, right?
Right. Exactly.
Or did you ever try to bulldog an elephant? It's a little tough. Anyway, so we're going to take a little break, and so I want to thank you for your. Both lines are open. These nice folks have agreed to stay with us. I know Mindy has some more points to make. So does Teresa, and so does Dean. We'd love to hear from you as well. We'll continue this discussion as we take our break at the top of the hour. We'll be back at 9:03 and continue with Talk Back. Okay, we're talking about animal rights, animal cruelty, the circus, elephants, lions, and tigers and bears.
Oh, my.
Thank you. Okay. So go ahead, John.
Yeah, I wanted to read something. So this is what our city councilors had to say, and I didn't want to put words in their mouths, which I kind of did earlier. So I'm retracting all that, and I'm going to put that the Missoulian and Mr. Martin Kidston, who wrote the article that appeared in the Missoulian, put the words in their mouths. So this is what they said at city council. Quote, it would be a tragedy to lose the circus because of something like this, said Ward 1 council member Brian von Lossberg. That said, I cannot in good conscience bring my daughter to the circus because of the performance of the wild animals, end quote. Here's another one. This is from Emily Bentley. She says, quote, I have concerns about the treatment of animals in the circus, concerns about animals being on trains or in carts while caged. It's not how I treat my pets, and then I hear them compared to pets. I take pause, end quote. So John kind of meshed these two things together. And then finally, we've got another one from Marilyn Marler. She says, quote, I'm a hunter. I grew up keeping livestock. I was in 4-H and I still keep chickens. But keeping wild animals, even if they're bred in captivity to do performances, is something I don't think people support anymore, end quote.
Can I address that?
Yeah.
First of all, they're not wild animals. They are exotic animals, but these animals are not wild. They were not born in the wild. They were born in captivity, and they have been imprinted from birth to be domesticated and to be used for these purposes. I myself personally have 2 bobcats. Okay? Somebody might call them wild animals, but the breeder I bought them from has been breeding them for over 30 years, and they are domestic American.
I think all cats are wild animals, but maybe that's just me.
And my bobcat, I need to share with you, she is extremely intelligent. She learned to sit, lay down, and roll over after watching our 2 dogs do it 1 time each.
Wow.
I would like to ask Mr. Gilmore to respond to one of the statements that was made by Marilyn Marler, the very last one. She says, I don't think this is something people support anymore. When you look at the number of people that come to the circus, how many people are we talking about? You're in charge of running the circus, right?
I am in charge, have been for 10 years.
So you kind of have some historical perspective on this. Does anyone show up, or is it empty seats every year?
We've had increasing attendance for over 65 years. It's one of the last wholesome, clean, family fun things that people can do. 300 or 400 local businesses sponsor up to 15,000 tickets for school children in western Montana. And we generally have anywhere from 20 to 30,000 people per year that attend 5 different shows.
Yeah, I was going to say there are 5 different shows, right? And it's inside the Adams Center.
It is, and we've had a long-running relationship with them. We've never had a complaint with them.
Now, I was going to ask you, is anybody from the university, because this whole complaint originated with someone who works with the university.
Correct.
And they brought their concerns to the city council. So I was wondering if anybody from the University of Montana, from their administration, has come to you and said, we need to rethink this whole thing.
Absolutely not. That's not the case whatsoever. The university has no position. The person from the university that made those comments made them as an individual,
as a private citizen, right.
And just she does work at the university as a professor, but that is not the stance. Right. There are other university employees and people that we do business with and have done business with basically forever that are on our side. They've attended the committee meetings with us, and they're firm proponents of the circus.
Right. So Mindy, did you want to comment on any of that?
I would. I'd like to address the comment about wild animals. And if people out there really care about elephants and tigers and a lot of these exotic animals and certain species, they should support the notion of private ownership of these animals, because there is no wild anymore. The wild out there is disappearing, and these animals are being poached in the wild on a daily basis. And without private ownership of these animals and the captive breeding programs here in the United States, these animals will be gone. And so we need to support the circus. We need to support these organizations that fund themselves private ownership of these species that, by the way, a lot of private ownership organizations have brought animals back from the brink of extinction before. And if we don't support these organizations and events, these animals will disappear from our lives forever.
Okay, let's get Harlan on the line. Harlan, thanks for holding. You're on Talkback. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I just want to bring up the fact that if the city does manage to pass this, we still can have this circus in the county. And with the current makeup, I got a feeling this is going to pass. And if it does, please continue to have this circus in the community. Just move it to the county, and I personally will show up to your next circus.
Hey, Harlan, what kind of facility would you imagine being able to fit the circus, though? That's the problem, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the fairgrounds. I mean, that's county. Wouldn't that be a great way to...
We've discussed having the circus at the county fairgrounds. I don't know. I don't know if that's still considered within the city limits or not. There is such thing as the big top, and I don't know if we can utilize that. The current contractor that we're dealing with does not have that, so we would have to possibly look at other contractors and different types of circuses and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and if you have to, there's the horse grounds west of Reserve. I mean, don't give up if they do this to you. That's all I'm asking.
All right. Thanks, Harlan.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate the call.
And maybe you can include a fireworks show at the county circus. I don't know. It might be a fun way to
animals would love
have
that.
a good time.
We're up against a break. I know you have a Facebook comment. We also have Emmett waiting to chime in, and we have one line open, 721-1290. Our guests, Teresa Manzella, Dean Gilmore, and Mindy Patterson, and, of course, Emmett, and you, and I'm waiting for an elephant to call. 721-1290 is our number. We'll be right back. And we're back on Talkback. 721-1290 is our number. That's John King. I'm Peter Christian. We have a Facebook comment, John. Go
That's
ahead.
kind of a question for Dean. Katie wants to know. She's just curious. Would something like Cirque du Soleil be available and worth the cost in order to continue raising money for the Shrine hospitals? I would hate to see an end to the fundraising, but if this ban stays in place, something needs to replace the traditional circus.
It's not something that we've investigated at all. We have no idea what the cost would be. It's not something that we're accustomed to. We've just been doing this for so long. Again, it's one of the only wholesome, fun things that people can do in Montana, in Missoula.
I'd like to, if we could, talk about the circus and the Shrine involvement, because there is a little bit of a cost-benefit analysis that the city needs to perform here. And one of the costs that was brought up at the city council meeting was the possible end of the Shrine Circus. Can you explain that to us? Tell us what the Shriners do, what the circus is for. It's not just a big for-profit enterprise.
Right.
And why it would have to shut down if the circus wasn't allowed to have elephants and lions shows.
The circus is our largest fundraiser that we have, and we use the money not only to support Shrine International, which supports our 22 hospitals in North America for orthopedics and burns. Some of our doctors are the best in the field. Our Shrine team, was involved with the most recent hand transplant for the young man that you read about over.
We had that in the Osgood file this morning, right? Yeah.
And a lot of the money that we spend, we probably send over 100 kids per year over to our Spokane hospital from Western Montana, and we put them up at a motel and give them gas money and food so they can get over there, and the care that they receive is at no cost to them, and there's no income limitation or anything like that for any of the parents, and we've been doing that for a long time, and that's primarily what we do with the money that we raise.
Now let me ask you this: Do all Shrine clubs, in other words, is the Shrine hospitals, are they traditionally all over the country funded by these circus performances, or are there other ways of raising money?
We also raise money through traditional ways, selling apples or onions. We raise some money from East-West Shrine football games,
right,
locally and nationally, and 100% of the net proceeds of those go to our hospitals. But locally, the circus is, for Western Montana, our largest fundraiser,
sure,
as it is, I'm sure, for the Kalispell Circus, the Great Falls Circus, and the Billings Circus.
Okay. Mindy, you have any comment on any of that?
Not really. I mean, we really are in a fight for the existence of these events all across the country, as you mentioned earlier. And either they're banning the circus outright, or, like I said earlier, they're trying to ban the circus through the banning of the elephant guide. So it's just popping up all over the country.
Okay, let's get Emmett on the line. Emmett, you're on with our group. Go ahead.
Well, thanks. I just got up. I wonder if I'm still dreaming. This, to me, is absurd. I've never been for the circus, never attended, but I've never in my wildest dreams ever wanted to ban the circus or ban circus elephants because of political correctness or PETA or whatever. Was there really a resolution at our city council trying to ban the Ringling, Barnum, whatever, circus because of cruelty to animals or PETA or something?
Yes, yes. So the city council has a proposal before the body to take a vote to not allow any more exotic animal acts within the city limits of Missoula. That would include the circus,
except for rodeos and
rodeo
educational displays, which is why I think they should just rope the elephants in front of everybody, and it would be cool.
Yeah, well,
we'd be okay with that.
This is happening, I guess, all over the country, and I didn't even know this. For one, it's political correctness to the extreme with PETA, and second of all, I know I'm beating a dead horse, but no pun intended, but I'm pro-life. Everyone knows that. I'd like to ask these people who are trying to ban the circus, a wholesome event that has wonderful animals that I think enjoy what they're doing. I'd like to ask them what their stance is about killing little human babies in the womb through abortion. I know that is quite an outrageous statement, but, we have such a double standard in our society anymore. Our society values are so turned upside down. It's really bizarre. Just God save our nation. That's all I can say.
Amen. God bless you, Emmett.
Thanks, Emmett. Appreciate the call. All right. So there goes line 3. 721-1290 is our number, 1-800-568-5309. Now, any reaction to what Emmett had to say from either of you, or all you guys?
This is Mindy. I have a point to make.
Yeah.
Where's the proof that there's abuse? And the tricky part of the animal rights push on all of this and the emotional bent that all of this has, which, by the way, the media, for the most part, is a willing accomplice to the animal rights agenda, and they're putting things out there that are taken out of context quite easily. So the uneducated eye is going to not be able to understand how people work with animals. So as someone on your show mentioned earlier, we're opposed to the transport of these animals. We're opposed to the elephant guide, this stick that they poke at the elephant. People don't know. They don't know any of this. So if they don't understand it, if they're not living in that, in the world of training animals in animal husbandry, they have no place in having a say. But we're allowing this vocal minority to destroy an enterprise to destroy animal ownership, to destroy animal agriculture all across our nation. And we need to rise up and say no.
Okay, hang
they
on.
don't know anything about animal husbandry, but yet we cower and we jump through hoops to try and make everybody happy. And is this enough? Is this enough? Meanwhile, the small vocal minority continue to move the goalpost until everything's gone.
I was just going to say, the one thing I have, my personal experience with these type of individuals is it's never going to be enough.
That's right.
Exactly.
You know, so go ahead.
Mindy, we've experienced this situation with proof for a long time. Animal activists have been coming to our circuses and picketing. Mm-hmm. They have paid picketers. The picketers aren't even actual PETA members. They're paid to come and picket.
Right.
They've tried to take pictures. They've tried to find any kind of evidence whatsoever that there's been animal abuse, and they have never, to this date, ever had any proof that they could take and take forward.
And with that, we're going to take a little break. Mindy, if you'll hang on with us, we have Brenda and Eric who both want to enter in on the conversation. We'll continue. Teresa Manzella is joining us in studio, along with Dean Gilmore. Mindy Patterson from the Cavalry Group is with us, and this is Talkback. We'll be right back. So where's the elephant in the room? Okay, that's I'm Peter Christian. That's John King. Guests in studio include Teresa Manzella, Dean Gilmore. He's the circus chairman for the Western Montana Shrine Club. Mindy Patterson's joining us from the Cavalry Group. And let's get to the phones. I want to get some comments here. Brenda, you're up first. Hi.
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. The first one is that any animals that are used like that there should be some checks in place to see that they're treated humanely. But the big thing that I wanted to tell the audience is that the Shriners gave our family some incredible service. When my sister, who is now in her 50s, was born, she literally had no lower face. Her nose was flat against her face, and she had no upper gum, no upper lip, no roof in her mouth. And the Shriners did everything to take care of her. And now if you looked at her, you'd see a little misshapen nose and a little scar on her lip. But I'd say protect the Shriners. God bless them.
All right.
God bless the Shriners.
Thank you so much for sharing that. We appreciate it. All right.
I would like to ask you a question real quick. She mentioned animal abuse, and she thinks there should be some protections. Are there currently protections against animal abuse?
Absolutely. There's lots of protections against animal abuse. We have some very strong animal welfare laws in the state. As a nation, we have very strong animal welfare laws. The circus is covered under Title VII of USDA law, and they are subject to random inspections without notice. Okay, so again, and they know that they are under scrutiny. They have been under fire. This animal rights movement has been growing for 50 years. And interestingly, as I started to do the research for this program, the nexus of the proposed ban is twofold: public safety and animal welfare. Public safety, okay, being the number one concern and priority. Do you find it interesting that there has not been a single death of anybody in the public by circus animals? I mean, the first thing I did was to Google public deaths by circus animals. There has not been one in the United States of America. And then animal welfare, I was able to find 2 cases where the circus has been cited in the last 15 years.
This particular circus?
No, not this particular circus, just circuses.
I understand you have an injury that occurred at the circus here in Missoula, though. You were talking about during the break.
It's anecdotal, yeah.
Oh, well, now, goodness, you're going to make me say it, aren't you? I understand. I've been told a story. I can't verify this, so it's not my story, but I was told that the only injury that the Shriner Circus has ever incurred was when a PETA picketer hit a clown in the head with their picket sign.
Well, there you go. Let's get back to the phone. Eric, you're on Talkback. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. I don't particularly like circuses myself, but the people who are trying to ban these, they aren't interested in logic, and they're not interested in any sound epistemology. debate them would be useless. And I like what our founders said when they were facing tyranny. They appealed to a candid world because the tyrant himself was not interested in logic or any sound epistemology. All he was interested in is forcing people into his own agenda, a pre-planned agenda, I might add. And the only thing that these people will understand, if they understand it at all, is force. And
what do you mean by that?
What kind of force would you suggest?
If that city council does what I think they're going to do, they need to be hauled out of that council chamber and have the tar beat out of them.
Well, we have an alternative to that. Thank you.
Don't think that's going to happen, but thank you.
We do have an alternative to that. It's actually one that Gloria recommends on our Facebook page. She says, instead of replacing the circus, how about the voters of Missoula start replacing city council and other leaders? They are becoming far too controlling and costly.
Well, in the election, we have the opportunity to elect, I believe, 5 or 6 new city councilors, because many of the incumbents have chosen not to run again. So if you're dissatisfied with the way your city is being run, guess what? The remedy is find a candidate. The candidates are out there. They've all registered. You find a candidate who agrees with your point of view. Work for them. Vote for them.
Guess what? Ballots hit the mail box. I think they're going to be mailed out the end of this month.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll have a city council show next week.
Absolutely. It'd be a great idea.
What we do have as an alternative is a meeting, a public hearing coming up August 10th at 7 p.m. And it's very important that your listeners are aware of that. And if they...
Now, that's the regular city council meeting on the 10th,
it's
right?
specifically for this issue,
a
public hearing on this issue. This is not a done deal.
All right.
And we need to ask the public if they support the Shriners and they support what the Shriners do and they support the circus and the circus animals, please come to the city council meeting August 10th, 7 p.m. The address is 140 West Pine Street.
And dress like a clown.
No.
Right? No, come on. Don't you want some press?
You can also find us on Facebook. We've just set up a Facebook page called Save Our Animals, Save Our Circus. If you'd like to have more information about this, we'll be keeping you posted and up to breast. And there's some wonderful circus people that I've recently met, and they've shared some amazing stories with me. And I mean, these are real, live, living, breathing people that love their animals and have dedicated their life to their animals. It's nice to get to know them. It's nice to hear their stories.
If you come to the meeting, though, leave your trunk at home. Okay, we're going to take a little break. Come right back. We have JR and Garth. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if you really want to shock the audience next time, live dental inspection of elephant in front of everyone. Dentist will see elephants in the ring.
All right. Yeah, we'll be right back. Wow.
Shock jock.
Hey, thanks for joining us on this Thursday edition of Talkback. I'm Peter Christian. We have a house full of guests and folks on the phone as well. We've got Teresa Manzella, House Representative, House District 85. Dean Gilmore is the Circus Chairman of the Western Montana Shrine Club. Mindy Patterson is joining us from the Cavalry Group. Where are you located, Mindy?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Okay, great. Well, let's get back to the phone. And I believe JR has been waiting the longest. JR, thanks for your patience. Go ahead, sir.
Thanks. Hi, yeah, I just found out about this ridiculous city ordinance they're trying to pass to ban the circus animals. And I've been thinking about Missoula. It's almost become a clone city of San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And once they do this, and next thing they'll do is they make it a, what do you call it?
For a sanctuary city?
Sanctuary city for illegals. That's what I was going to say.
Well, are we already?
We are a sanctuary state.
So I guess once that happens, they pass this ordinance, the only circus performing in Missoula anymore will be the city council.
Okay. All right. Thanks, JR.
So I have looked up the sanctuary cities thing. It's a real deal. When I looked at the map, Missoula was not on the map.
Okay.
Maybe they forgot to put a dot in the North Rocky Mountain.
Well, you had just said that we're a sanctuary state. What does that mean?
Well, actually, and I haven't done the investigative research on this myself. I've only just found out about it recently. So until I do the personal research, I'm not really comfortable in talking about it.
Okay.
It was actually mentioned and shown on Fox News that Montana is a sanctuary state.
So let's continue with Garth. Garth, you're on with our guests. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good morning. Yeah, they're going to have to find a sanctuary for us Montanans to live in here pretty soon.
Okay.
But the city council, they're chock full of these leftist implants that are bringing all this crap that they moved away from in the first place, bringing it to Missoula. And I think they should be careful that if they pass this city ordinance, against circuses, they're pretty much voting against themselves.
Now, why do you say they're voting against themselves?
Well, first of all, the city council is full of clowns. And when it comes to Mayor John Engen, you want to talk about a performing elephant.
Oh, no.
Rim shot, please.
All right. Thanks for the call. All right. Personal attacks aside, let's not do that. 721-1290 is our number. We have two lines open.
See, Mayor Engen is not an elephant. He's more of a magician. He says, I'm not going to give myself a raise, and then poof, he gives himself a raise.
Just like magic.
Okay. All right. So Mindy, have any of the things of our callers said has struck you as being something you could like to comment on?
Oh, absolutely. You had someone call in talking about how there really isn't an issue that needs solving, and I couldn't agree more. Where's the crisis? The animal rights groups are creating a crisis that doesn't exist, and that seems to be right in tune with all of the other industries that have faced undue hardship from the animal rights groups across the board, from animal agriculture and the pet industry, circuses, you name it. Everybody's in the crosshairs.
It might be interesting to ask Dean, the circus comes to town once a week, right?
So once a year.
Once a year, okay. And for 5 performances.
5 performances.
For 2 days.
2 on Friday, 3 on Saturday. That's it.
Okay, all right.
My family has a personal record of going to the circus at least the last 3 years. I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and even if I didn't want to go, I couldn't get out of it. Right. But it looks to me like you have a bunch of responses of people that have been, right? Is that what these little cards are?
We do.
Can you read a few of these? You got any of these picked out? These are what the kids write after they see the circus.
Oh, how cool. Okay.
Of the 15,000 tickets that we hand out to grade schools in western Montana, we get thousands of these back.
Yeah, so if you don't have kids, to tell how this works, basically they get a free ticket to go to the circus, so mom and dad don't have to pay. Mom and dad then get suckered into going to the circus. Along with the ticket, there's a postcard, and assuming your child is literate and can write better than I can, they can send the postcard back, and basically a way to say thank you, right, to the businesses that have offered them the ability to go to the circus for free.
Which is a really good social commentary, because you're teaching your child how to send a thank you note.
Hallelujah.
You know what a thank you note is? Anybody out there know what a thank you note is anymore? Okay, I'm sorry.
So you're Mr.
I'm
Christian.
over 50 years old, and I remember filling these out when I was in grade school.
Really?
I think anybody in Missoula has.
If you could share some of those with us, go ahead, Dave.
Some of the ones easy to read. Dear Shriners, thank you so much for the circus ticket. I can't wait to go. Dear Shriner, let's see, that was from Ayana. This one's from Olivia. Dear Shriners, thank you for their circus ticket. I will have fun. Thank you for having me see the tiger. Love, Gwen. Dear Shriners, thank you so much for the circus ticket. I can't wait to go. I love going to circuses. Sincerely, Isaiah. And it goes on. I mean, there's thousands of these.
It's got like a ream of these things.
Yeah. So,
and I have kids, right? So we see the Pixar movies, we see all the other stuff. But there's something different when you walk into a room and there's something larger than you that isn't a car. And when a kid sees an elephant, I don't know how many times my arm has been dislocated by the kids trying to get me to go give them the elephant ride, right? And so, I mean, it's just something that, it inspires a sense of discovery, of natural wonder, of a sense of being that maybe I'm not the most important thing in the world. There's something bigger than me, maybe. I mean, maybe getting a little too philosophical here, but, circuses are important for lots of reasons that aren't always tangible. And one of those things is that awe that they inspire.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And when my son was 2, we were in San Diego Zoo. We went on an elephant ride, and he's 32 now, and we still remember that. That's so an experience we shared together. So.
When I was a little girl, 8 years old, I lived a couple miles away from our county fairgrounds, and I would ride my pony up to the fairgrounds every day to practice with my pony. That's where the arena was. And every year the circus would come to town, and since I was always there, it was very easy for me to make friends. And I made friends with a little circus gal who her family had an elephant and a camel, and we would trade rides. I would take her around the neighborhood on the back of my pony, and in return, she would let me ride her elephant and her camel.
Wow.
And those
cool.
are some of my most fondest, cherished childhood memories.
Go ahead, Mindy. You were about to say something.
No, I just said that's incredibly neat that Teresa had that experience. But yeah, I mean, we all have had animals touch our lives and our experience in this way, and I think it's really interesting to hear everyone talk about this wonderful human-animal bond connection that the animal rights groups want to basically take away.
Yeah, especially when there's the whole sensation of touching, reaching out and touching and being close to and smelling and hearing and watching all these things that they just. I'm sorry, is it too dangerous? Anyway, Alan and Pete, we're going to get you on in a moment. We're up against a break. We'll be right back. Stay with us. It's Talk Back, really and we are rolling right along here this morning. We've got guests in the studio. I'm Peter Christian. That's John King. Here in the studio, Teresa Manzella. She is from House District 85. Dean Gilmore is the circus chairman for the Western Montana Shrine Club. Mindy Patterson's joining us from a group called Cavalry Group out of St. Louis. And I want to get right back to the phone because Alan's been waiting. Alan, thank you for your patience. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, good morning. I have two comments and an observation. Comment one, as the people have moved off the land, their relation between animals and human life is distorted.
Yep.
The second one is it appears we have way too much free time for a lot of people. And the third observation, you said that the circus has a no-notice inspection that they can go through.
Yes.
And Iran has 24 days before we can inspect their nuclear sites. Now, I guess the circus is much more dangerous than Iran.
There you go.
That's very well put, Alan. Thanks. Thanks for the call. That's awesome.
We have another Facebook
That's sobering.
question. See, we should have Carrie negotiate the elephant deal for us. All right, here we go. It says, Katie wants to know, what is the definition of exotic animals according to the city council? Would that include llamas and emus exhibited at the fair? What about personal ownership of reptiles? Some people in Missoula own snakes and iguanas, for example, or even bobcats, dare I say. Yes. Going further, how about dog shows and breeders? I mean, how many different parts of animal life does this touch? Is there a specific definition of exotic? Your exotic radio host would like to know.
Within the ordinance, they have defined specific animals, and it's not an inclusive list, but the list is big enough to cover what circus animals are usually there. There's a whole long list of what's included and what's not included, and by no ways is it inclusive of all animals.
Now, like, never mind.
I mean, like,
I was going to be silly, but yeah.
So I once had a German Shepherd, but it wasn't just a German Shepherd. It was also part Springer Spaniel. So does that mean it's exotic?
Wow.
There you go.
Designer.
We're going far afield here, so.
Gotta have some fun.
So now you had mentioned, Teresa, that there's a meeting coming up. We want to keep hitting this because
August 10th.
If folks are really, truly concerned about this, a lot of folks hear this in one ear and out the other. Yeah, exotic animals, well, whatever. They're at it again. Blah 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 blah. Well, what they don't realize is the long-lasting impact that this is going to have. If you've ever sent a child to a Shriners Hospital, this doesn't necessarily mean that all fundraising for Shriners is going to stop, but the fundraising for this worthy organization will have to come to a screeching halt in Missoula, Montana, and I don't know. I just think that's a shame.
If this ban passes, it will be a lose-lose. It will be a lose for the community of Missoula. It will be a lose for the Shriners. It will be a lose for the children that the Shriners help. It will be a lose for the circus and the circus animals. What are they going to do? These animals and these people work for a living. You know, when I think of animal welfare, I think of animal well-being and preserving animal well-being, and I'm a huge advocate of animal welfare and taking better care of your animals, not putting them in the welfare soup line so that they can go and collect a check from the government. Okay, these people want to work, and this is their life and their livelihoods.
Now, Mindy, can I ask you a question? Because you're with a cavalry group. Does the city council actually have the authority to do this? I mean, is this something that is within their purview to do?
They do. It's within the legislative process.
They do. Okay. All right. Okay.
So
but you know, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mindy.
I was just going to say that, you know, we suffer in this country from a lack of participation, as Representative Manzella mentioned earlier, and I think, you know, it's worrisome. Teresa and I talk about this all the time, that people are going to wake up and realize that we're losing these cherished industries, these iconic, historic industries that have made up our culture in America. And what I think people also need to understand is incrementalism is our greatest enemy. And as we chip away with this legislative reform at the local level and the state level and the federal level, they're not just about destroying animal ownership. This is about the destruction of our American way of life. And again, constitutional right to private property, and that may be too broad for many, but you know, we need to wake up and realize that this is an incremental destruction of our American way of life.
You bet. Okay.
I have the exotic animals listed. I actually pulled up Mr. von Lossberg's proposal.
Okay, go ahead.
So here we go. The animals listed in parentheses are intended as examples and are not to be construed as an exhaustive list or limit the generality of each group of animals listed unless otherwise specified. So here we go. Alphabet. So point A, non-human primates and prosimians, chimpanzees and monkeys. Felidae, except domesticated cats. Canidae, except domesticated dogs. Ursidae, that'd be bears. I'm just going to say elephants. I'm not going to do the Latin. Alligators and crocodiles. Kangaroos and possums, reptiles over 8 feet in length, snakes and reptiles of venomous variety as well, rhinoceroses, tapirs, but not horses, ponies, donkeys, and mules, hippopotamuses, giraffes, camels, antelope, deer, elk, moose, mountain goats, but not reindeer, cattle, swine, sheep, or domestic goats. Hippopotamus means river horse, so do I have an exception for horse there?
How about rhinoceroses?
Hyenas, skunks, weasels, and other badgers, raccoons, sloths, anteaters, armadillos, mongooses, civets, and jinnets. So,
how can a raccoon be considered an exotic animal?
I don't know. Some people have really boring lives.
Unless you've seen what a raccoon can do to your kitchen, and you don't understand how exotic they can really be. Hey, we're up against our last break. We're going to be right back after this 1 minute timeout. Catherine wants to weigh in, and this has been a great discussion. We appreciate all of you being with us. We'll be right back. And we're back on Talkback with the coolest bumper music ever. Ow! All right, 721-1290 is the number. Now, we want to redeem all the time possible because we don't have very much time left. Mindy Patterson's joining us, Cavalry Group in St. Louis. Teresa Manzella in the studio along with Dean Gilmore. And let's get right back to the phones and say hi to Catherine. Hi, Catherine. Go ahead.
Good morning. This is a perfect example of the law of unintended consequences. For example, outlawing slaughterhouses for horses has resulted in horses being shipped thousands of miles to Mexico under horrible conditions. So if these animals are no longer able to work for their living, they become a hardship for the owners, and consequently they will end up having to be destroyed. Yes?
You are so correct.
Usually in a very cruel way.
Usually in a very cruel way. So that's my comment.
I will destroy you gently.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Catherine.
Jeannie, you're on Talkback. Please go ahead.
Yes. The animal issue the city council needs to take up here in Missoula, instead of outlawing the circus, is the rampant amount of deer we have in Missoula and the destruction they are causing our neighborhoods. And I'll hang up. And thanks to the Shriners.
Hey.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the call. I can't tell you how many hundreds of dollars worth of flowers my wife has planted, and they're all gone now because of the hungry little deer. So, Brian, you're on Talkback. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I've been listening to your program here only for a short while, but I think I might have a solution for the Shriners.
Great.
And my thought is, is since this is a city of Missoula situation, why don't they go into the county? So there's a lot of area just outside of the county where they might be able to find maybe a rancher who has a tract of land where they can set up their circus tent and provide parking.
Well, that's just it. We did discuss this, Brian. One of the problems is the circus that comes to Missoula has to be indoors. It doesn't have a tent. And so it has to be an indoor circus.
Okay. Well, my apologies, and I'm glad someone else is thinking of that as well.
That's a great idea, though. We appreciate it. Pete, you're on Talkback. Go ahead.
Yeah, I thought that was a good comment, and maybe like in the future, if the city council goes AWOL on us again, that they could contract with the circus that does have a tent. But I was wondering if the city council really believes in the mission of the Shrine Circus and all the good things they do for our state. Perhaps each of those elected officials would volunteer for a dunk tank and help raise funds at this circus.
Good idea.
Thanks for the call. All right. And it's interesting. I don't remember, again, I wasn't at that meeting, so I can't really speak from personal experience. But was there anything in the original presentation that would try to derive some way of gathering the funds that are raised for the Shrine Circus other than the circus itself? No, you guys are on your own, basically.
We're on our own. There was no solution put forth at all.
Okay. It's really hard to sympathize for them. Why don't you just give yourself a raise? I don't get it. Just make some more money.
Okay. Anyway. All right. So we have 3 minutes left in the program. So, Mindy, I'm going to give you a minute to wrap up your end of this from the Cavalry Group. Go ahead.
Great. Well, thank you. It's no stretch to figure out that these animal rights-based organizations and their ideology is to behind this false veil of exploitation of animals is the abolition of animal ownership and to destroy something that most Americans love. Again, it's this vocal minority that's trying to take it away for everybody.
Okay, thank you for that. And by the way, how can folks get in touch with the Cavalry Group and get more information about your organization?
Our website is www.thecavalrygroup.com, and make sure you spell it like the military infantry, not the church.
All right.
We had that conversation.
It has been a pleasure, ma'am. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's
You
been
bet.
a pleasure.
Thank you. All right, so Teresa, let us have it.
Well, Peter, thank you so much for everything you do and for giving us an opportunity to voice our concerns about this. Again, this is not a done deal. People need to attend the meeting. I'm begging people to attend the meeting August 10th, 7 p.m. The City Council will be hosting a public hearing on this issue. The address is 140 West Pine Street, and that's above the police station. We've also set up a Facebook page. I would appreciate it if you would sign on and like us and be part of our group. It's called
is this going to be in the City Council chambers itself?
I believe so.
Okay, well, the City Council chambers has its own place. It's a beautiful, facility.
Well, some people, I guess, know where the police station is, more so than they know where the City
It's
Council.
around the corner from the police station now.
Okay.
So anyway, just
140
want you to know.
West Pine Street is the address.
Okay.
Back to the Facebook page. Please sign on and like us and check out what we've got going on there. Save our animals. Save our circus. Again, this is not a done deal, but we do need public support. We need to support the Shriners. They support the children. And nobody would have believed that they could have banned fox hunting in England, Peter.
Yeah.
But they got it done. They did it. And fox hunting in England is as much a part of their culture and history as rodeo is to ours.
Yeah. All right. So go ahead, Dean, if you can just give a...
I'd just like to thank Mindy and Teresa and Peter and John for letting us speak today, and I'd really hope for the support of anybody that's listening. If you enjoy the circus and you like the fun, then come and support us on August 10th.
And if you have never been close to an elephant, okay, I don't care how old or how young you are, you need to do that. It makes you understand how small and weak you really are. Okay, to know that even a young elephant, all he has to do is turn his head, and you're 50 feet down the road. Right. And so it gives you this feeling that I am not the most powerful thing in the room. Okay, And there's a sense of humility. I think it's important. So anyway, John, what's come up tomorrow?
Well, finally, Mr. Zinke had his flight delayed, so he's flying right now and couldn't be with us, but he will be with us tomorrow at 9 o'clock. So
all right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. You guys enjoy this beautiful sunshine. Remember, it's getting dry out there. Please be extra careful with fire. Stage 1 restrictions still in effect. Bye-bye.